Hi, my name is Jessica, and today I'll be comparing two models of education, the first one being Steiner's model, and the second one being what I personally experienced at school. I'll be looking at the goals of these two models of education, as well as how they view the role of the teacher and the nature of the student. I'll be outlining the philosophical assumptions that underlie these two models, and any relationship to the Christian perspective, as well as the socio-cultural influences on these models and how that impacts practice in the classroom. So Steiner was an Australian philosopher whose alternative views on education have helped to create the foundation for the fastest growing independent schools worldwide. My personal model of education was attending an independent co-educational Christian private school, which was located in a low socio-economic area and therefore was designed to promote the opportunity for families from all walks of life to attend quality Christian private schooling. The goal of education in the Steiner model is a metaphysical one, and it's based on the cosmological assumption that there is a God or some form of spiritual world that needs to be connected with. Therefore, the goal of Steiner education is to develop students who are spiritually connected to this world and have a reverence and an awe for the beauty of life. My schooling education model was driven by the theological desire to educate for eternity and to uphold Proverbs 22 verse 6, which says that if you train someone in the correct way, they will not stray from it even when they are older. So the goal of my school was to create well-rounded individuals who had a love and understanding of Jesus Christ. The role of the teacher in a Steiner model is to be a moral leader, and this is achieved through creating freedom in the classroom. A teacher needs to uphold the epistemological assumption that there is no ultimate truth, and therefore all views that are brought to that classroom each have their own form of truth. The teacher is also expected to be a parent to the students and to understand each student's temperament, socio-cultural background and needs, and to provide for them not only on a teacher level but a parental level. At my school, teachers were expected to be an example of the love of Jesus in the classroom. But due to the nature of the school and the fact that lessons were quite short and that some teachers had students for a term, others for a year, it made it harder for them to connect with students on a deeper level, and so they became first and foremost academic leaders. The nature of the student in a Steiner model is entirely holistic: mind, body, and spirit. It's driven by a philosophy called anthroposophy, which holds the epistemological assumption that all wisdom comes from the human being. It holds the anthropological belief that students are meant to be purpose-driven individuals who are authors of their own development. A Steiner model also acknowledges that in high school, adolescents are becoming high intellect thinkers, and that they are individuals who can analyze, evaluate, and form conclusions based on personal experiences. At my school, it acknowledged the holistic nature of a student, but even more than that, it acknowledged that a student was truly whole when they were in a relationship with Jesus Christ. My model of education also acknowledged the high order thinking that is developed in secondary, and aimed to help develop this through getting students to question and develop their own worldviews, and to be able to compare this with the worldviews of others, as well as the Christian worldview. So both of these educational models acknowledge the existence of the spiritual realm. They both acknowledge the holistic nature of the student as acknowledged in the Christian perspective and reflected in Matthew 23 verse 37. They both recognize the intricacy and the complexity of the nature of a human being. Steiner's model, however, differs from a Christian perspective and contradicts the biblical understanding of absolute truth. Steiner's model places the student at the center of the classroom rather than Jesus. And John 14:6 clearly states that all truth comes from Jesus. Finally, the socio-cultural context that influenced these two models. A Steiner school is an expensive form of education, and so therefore the families who send their students there are expecting high-quality, artistic, abstract forms of education that develop their students holistically and create them to become lifelong learners. So a Steiner school in the secondary end would be highly artistic in nature, but it will also tackle universal, complex themes that develop a student to become a lifelong learner. These themes are ethical and deal with social responsibility. They deal with all aspects of a student, the mind, the body, and the spirit. And students are meant to develop this through artistic means and through deep thinking and employing that high intellect. At my school, it was located in a low socio-economic area and had a high refugee intake, so therefore it was an exceptionally vocational school. Students at my school followed the manual arts pathways or the hospitality pathways and often went on to TAFE. And so the school was designed to cater for this practical element. There were OP subjects offered based upon the Australian curriculum, but these subjects were quite rigorous and were not designed for collaborative learning, but rather to create individuals and simply to help students pass the assessment. Finally, due to the different cultures that made up my school, there was a huge ESL section, and classes were streamlined into a student's ability to work with the English language, which meant that a majority of the students at this school were a part of the ESL program. So therefore, that is the goals, role of the teacher, and the nature of the student according to the Steiner model and my personal model of education, as well as the philosophical, Christian, and socio-cultural influences that underlie both those models. Thank you for listening.